Welcome to our video on Pennsylvania lease and landlord-tenant laws. As a landlord, it's essential to know your rights and responsibilities to manage your rental property well. With that in mind, here are some important points of landlord-tenant laws in the Keystone State. The lease agreement is the foundation of the landlord-tenant relationship. It's a legally binding contract between a landlord and tenant that establishes the terms of the rental relationship. The most common type of lease agreement is a one-year, fixed-term lease that terminates at the end of the lease term. This is often referred to as a standard lease agreement. In addition to the terms of the lease, Pennsylvania landlords must provide tenants with a lead-based paint disclosure and pamphlet for any property built before 1978. This is automatically included in our Pennsylvania lease.
Next, let's talk about key landlord-tenant laws in Pennsylvania. In Pennsylvania, the amount of the security deposit may not exceed 2 months' rent. The security deposit must be returned within 30 days of the lease termination date, or the tenant giving up possession, whichever comes first. The landlord must provide the tenant with an itemized list of any deductions. Pennsylvania does not provide specific guidelines about entering a property for non-emergencies, but we always recommend that landlords provide at least 24 hours written notice. Pennsylvania does not have a set limit for late fees. However, the fee should be reasonably related to the expenses incurred due to the late payment. If landlords are going to charge a fee for a return payment, this fee must be clearly stated in the lease agreement. Bad check fees may not exceed $50 or the actual service charge for the return check. Pennsylvania landlords may require tenants to get renters insurance and can make failure to do so a breach of the lease agreement. We recommend all landlords do this. Pennsylvania landlords should be familiar with lease termination and renewal laws. Fixed-term leases terminate at the end of the term unless otherwise stated in the lease agreement. Month-to-month leases can be terminated by either party with 15 days' notice. Pennsylvania does not impose a limit on how much a landlord can increase rent. However, the lease should specify the procedures and notice requirements for rent increases. Pennsylvania law requires landlords to maintain the rental property in a habitable condition. This includes ensuring that essential services like plumbing, heating, and electricity are functioning correctly. Tenants must promptly notify landlords of any necessary repairs, and landlords have 30 days from the time that they're notified to repair the issue.
Tenants in Pennsylvania have specific rights, including the right to withhold rent if the landlord fails to make essential repairs within a reasonable time. Retaliation by the landlord against tenants is strictly prohibited. If a tenant fails to pay rent or violates the lease agreement, the landlord may initiate the eviction process. When doing so, landlords must adhere strictly to Pennsylvania law, and landlords can never resort to self-help eviction methods, such as changing locks or shutting off utilities. Congratulations, you're now familiar with key lease laws and you're ready to create your Pennsylvania lease. While the lease laws might sound complicated, keep in mind that our Pennsylvania lease automatically includes all required disclosures and gives you state assist tips throughout the lease building process. Before you turn over possession of your rental, make sure you've screened all tenants, have an executed Pennsylvania lease agreement, and you've collected the entire security deposit and first month's rent. As you manage your rental, remember that we have over 400 property management forms, including Pennsylvania state-specific forms. These cover every phase of the landlord lifecycle, from a copy of the Pennsylvania Landlord-Tenant Act to a 10-day notice to quit. Visit easylandlordforms.com to start your tenant screening. Create a Pennsylvania lease agreement that's guaranteed to comply with all Pennsylvania lease laws, and access Pennsylvania property management forms.